It's time for AggroChat, the official podcast of the Tales of the Aggronaut blog and stalwart gaming community, where we talk about stuff and things, and the stuff about the things, and sometimes gaming. I'm Belghast, and let's start the show. Hey folks, it's that time again. Time for another episode of AggroChat. This is episode 492. Tonight I'm joined by Ammo.
Hello.
Ashgar.
Hello.
Kodra.
Greetings.
And Thalen.
Hey there.
So we are down a handful of people, because reasons, but we've got a handful of topics that have bumped, and then I have thrown some on, and Ash has thrown some on, so I think we have a show. 2020 and Japanese arcades.
This is kind of a funny way for this to get introduced. But anyhow, if you live in the United States, you're probably aware that arcades, for the most part, basically died out in the early 2000s.
Yes.
Sadly.
Redemption arcades kind of never did because gambling is always a thing that makes money.
Yeah.
But like go-to-play arcade games, arcades basically died out.
Yeah. Basically what exists now, from what I've seen, is like you go to Dave & Buster's and they've got effectively giant iPhones with an app running.
Right. It's the weirdest thing.
Ball.
Yeah, it's like giant mobile games.
So anyway, this apparently did not happen in Japan.
It did not.
And their arcade scene kept going. So that's how we continue to get arcade releases of things like Street Fighter 4, Street Fighter 5 and 6. Variety of other things, including Konami's rhythm game franchises.
Yeah.
Which DDR was real popular here in the 90s. However, Konami didn't really officially sanction that, as it turns out. People just bought machines because they could. However, eventually machines started requiring internet connections. And therefore, unlicensed machines were not a thing anymore. There was a separate period in time where people were faking that, but that died out as well. Anyway, DDR mostly went away in the early 2000s because of that reason in the United States. This, again, did not happen in Japan. Konami's rhythm games have been going strong there since, 91?
Yeah.
But this hit a bit of a snag about 4 years ago when a certain thing happened.
Wonder what happened there.
And arcades were mostly not able to operate. So like during the pandemic, Konami appeared to have run into some sort of problems with trying to get people to play their arcade games. They, however, had a solution. They officially launched versions of most of their games for the PC. You can definitely get DDR that way. Beatmania 2DX, Pop Music, and Sound Voltex are the ones that are all officially supported.
Mm-hmm.
They have current, up-to-date PC versions to this day because they all launched during the pandemic. This is only done for Japan because, again, Japanese arcades are kind of the only arcades. And it takes some jumping through hoops to play them in the States, but it is possible.
Mm-hmm. VPNs are great.
VPN not required. You just need to read some Japanese.
Mm.
But discovering this was a bit of a surprise because I'd been sort of aware of pop music since I think early 2000s, but I never got a chance to play it until a few weeks ago when I went up to a local arcade with Tim and Kodra and got a chance to actually try it. But it means that there's an officially sanctioned way to play these games now, or where there just hasn't been before.
Like in an arcade?
I mean at home,
Oh.
that they had to launch home versions because arcades were closed.
Right. Oh, yeah, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so was the Poppin' Music at the arcade, was that the home version?
It was not. It was a very old version.
Okay.
A very old version. Like, this was definitely DDR import cabinet era type of thing going on there.
So they were just using the fact that there was no internet requirement
Right.
to allow us to play that.
Correct.
Trying to rapidly mash those 9 buttons.
I've seen people who are good at this game, and it's unreal.
I believe it.
It's not the only franchise that had this going on. It's sort of the biggest one.
Well, does
But
that mean there are
Gundam-
now home versions of DDR?
It does mean there's a home version of DDR. Again, you need to have some Japanese in order to do this, or at least be able to navigate their website, which is not in English in any way. But yeah, there's now an officially home-supported version of DDR.
So
All of these, however, like Konami likes their arcade money, so none of them are free or like one-time purchase. They're also subscription services.
Mhm.
So are there website guides like there were for PSO2
Absolutely.
that are like, here, click this
Click
symbol?
this thing. Yes.
That was the best
Konami
part
is not
about
the
setting
only-
that up.
Like Konami's the biggest example, but they're not the only one. The Gundam Versus series, a series of very good Gundam-based fighting games, has not escaped Japan except for the one that came out in 2020, because that's the last time they made a home version for the PS4. People weren't in arcades, so they made a home version. I would like them to do this again, but that hasn't happened. It doesn't seem like it's going to happen either. Maybe if Gundam Breaker 4 takes off, they'll think about doing it.
I'm hoping this is a good Gundam Breaker game.
I've been having fun, but I'm very early.
Okay.
It's got some translation concerns.
I would love to see them release the one that we imported from the South Asia area to PC or something.
Yeah, who even knows there?
Was that new Gundam Breaker?
No. New Gundam Breaker is a terrible one.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Gundam Breaker 3.
And Gundam Breaker 4 just came out this past week. I have not played it that much, as I have been playing a different game that came out literally the day before it.
Is Gundam Breaker the game in which you build your own Gundam
Yes.
out of Gundanium by kit bashing?
The sort of premise is that they have 3D scanners and you can build your own Gunpla. That's the sort of general premise in like an online MMO type atmosphere.
I mean, I can't argue with the concept of 3D printing mechs. It seems very popular.
Like, what else are you going to use your 3D printer for?
Making a pop music controller.
Yeah.
Make a dragon flute?
But yeah, pandemic sucked, but it was interesting that it let some of these things happen for basically the first time.
Look, pandemic had some really weird follow-on effects. Like, I mean, I know here prior to the pandemic, we really didn't have any delivery options other than pizza, and now everything has delivery options. So
Yeah.
places had to pivot.
I'm not willing to quite yet call that a 100% good thing.
Yeah, the delivery options often suck, but
Yeah.
Well-
they're non-zero
for everybody involved.
Yeah, like, I just know a lot of restaurants that really are struggling with that new reality.
Yeah, those margins are super thin anyway, so.
And they are definitely playing some weird games with that.
I am also a fan of delivery groceries, though,
I like that one a lot too.
which is definitely not a thing previously. So this week we got some weird Last Epoch news. Apparently on, I want to say it's the 19th of September, they are doing a mid-cycle reset. And I have weird feelings about that. Like, I get why they're doing it, because some stuff happened. And they had lots of issues at the beginning of the league. But also, like, I don't know, like resetting again. So basically all the cycle characters go to standard, and the cycle is launching again for the second time.
Well,
Remind me, like, if I'm not, it feels like Last Epoch does not have any cycle exclusive features. Not really.
Not currently. At some point in the future, they will. And there's also events going on during this one that apparently won't be in standard. But so there's a bunch of stuff that's happening. They're apparently cranking up faction rep, gold gain, unique drops, spawn rates, all to kind of juice the second half of this cycle that allows people to catch up quickly.
As an apology for making you start over. Here's a lot of candy.
Yeah.
well, so
My primary thought is if you are Circle of Fortune,
It does not matter at all.
you can just play standard. Like, this is not even really a reset.
But they are implementing a couple of things, one of which I'm deeply interested in. I forget what they are calling the system, but basically they're putting affinities into the game. So Path of Exile style affinities for your tabs will be a thing,
Okay.
which will be very nice.
Yeah.
Because managing the bank is a little cumbersome at times. So that'll be nice. They're also putting in their version of loot goblins, which are called loot lizards. There's some kind of an Imperial undead event where they spawn far more often, and there's like some stuff associated with that. So I don't know. Like they've not gone into full details on most of this stuff. But also apparently they're now Steam Deck verified. They've added quality of life improvements to dungeons, whatever that means.
Hopefully that means that if you die on the last boss, like something feels a little better.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
So before launch, if you died on the last boss, you got to retry the last boss. You didn't need a new key. You only need a new key if you died in the dungeon before the boss. So I was surprised to see the version it launched in. Although honestly, if you died in a dungeon, you had a better chance of crashing out than actually, getting a restart screen anyway.
I just don't think dungeons are that fun. That's my big problem with dungeons. Like I get what they're trying to do, but like
I think Lightless Arbor is kind of cool, and don't like either of the other two.
I like all of them actually. I just hate when I die, and especially Lightless Arbor.
Like I think mostly my biggest problem is like, why would I do that other than monoliths?
Well, there are some rewards that you can only get from them, and I think that's interesting.
This is true. I tried to get a upgraded version of the elemental leech gloves that you get from the first little town area.
I also like, if you are Circle of Fortune, man, do I wish that I could have some of the cool features of Circle of Fortune with some of the nice features with being able to trade. Because like the idea that, hey, Circle of Fortune encourages you to do some different content, I like.
The problem that I see with like the Bazaar, right, is that prophecies add a lot of content to the game.
Yes.
And like there's not really anything to replace that for Bazaar.
No, you it's just because you want to like try and be the very best.
Because like it's really fun to stack prophecies and then go do content.
Yes.
And then that makes it all feel very rewarding.
Yes, you're hitting on a thing I think is very fun in these games is doing that thing. But like I also think an economy is fun, and so I want to engage with that. So I have to pick.
Yeah, like I am more okay with just not ever trading, but it does feel real bad when you can't get the thing that you want. Like, cause I was doing that whole spin to win smite build, and it took me forever to get one of the swords to drop that basically enables the build.
Yeah. Well, and then it's like okay, now I want to try and juice this build up. Okay, so you need to hope that thing drops with enough LP on it.
Or you get an egg that magically turns it into an LP item instead of just
that does exist.
Yeah, but that's not a sure thing, because like you either get an LP item out of it or you get a poorly optimized legendary.
Sure, but I mean, you probably already had it.
Like a legendary version of it, no matter what the stats are on it, is probably better than the non-LP version you're using. So
yeah,
it doesn't really matter.
Is. Exactly. Like you're definitely upgrading it. Like I don't mind. I like league starts, so this will give me another opportunity to cycle start. Also, like I don't know. I feel like Last Epoch cycles are kind of long.
They really are. Like they're longer than the traditional 3 to 4 months. Mostly because it all centers around their patch cycle.
And they have to develop content to go in those leagues.
Right, exactly. Like they don't have 2 teams rolling on this so that one is always rolling forward on the next league. Like they're doing this in the moment.
I mean, neither does grinding your games at the moment. It's just a much bigger company.
That said, like it's been about 2 or 3 months. It'll be about 3 months when this reset happens. So
really,
I won't. Early early to mid-July to no, 2 months. 2 months.
I don't remember what I was doing when that league launched, but like
playing
I
Path
was
of Exile is what you were doing. So
there. You
almost
go.
a week apart.
Yeah, that was what I was doing. So yeah, basically like I didn't actually really participate in the league start, so I'm gonna league start this time. I'm getting a do-over. And apparently their economy is as well.
Yeah. Hopefully we don't find yet another gold dupe.
Yes.
Their game has a box price. They should just be very, very heavy on the banhammer.
Well, the problem is they are very heavy on they can be very heavy on the banhammer, but like if they are not fast enough on the banhammer, people just start the prices of everything get super hyper inflated very quickly, and all of that illicit gold has then been laundered into the economy.
Yep.
That's true.
Yeah, I'm not real sure that having a gold-based trade economy is the best idea in the world, but because like the thing with gold in Path of Exile in this last league is it was the taxation currency essentially, and that was imperfect already, mostly because like the prices were like if you're trading something for a bunch of chaos, your gold price was outrageous. But like it worked pretty well because the thing that you were trading wasn't necessarily the gold.
No.
I mean, Path of Exile did also have an exploit this season. They just did catch it in time.
Yeah, and they banned a bunch of people.
Oh, what was that exploit?
That was relating to forcing div cards on a map.
Yeah, so basically they added in seers, and one of the things that the nameless seer could do was scry a map, aka replace the default drop pool of div cards with the div cards from another map. So all you had to do was take a like tier 1 map and put a div card package on it from another map that only had one eligible drop at that level.
Which is Brother's Gift. That was
Brother's
the
Gift.
eligible drop.
Yeah, so basically like, and then they would use the scarabs that forced X number of mobs to drop div cards.
Mm-hmm.
So that essentially every time they ran a map, they just got tons of Brother's Gifts.
As was pointed out, like if they had revealed what div cards were on what map before the league started, people would have caught this before it went live.
Yeah, Sir Gog would have absolutely caught this. As would that entire, I forget the name of that Discord.
Prohibited Library?
Yeah, the poor Fishwife runs, but they would have absolutely caught this and tattled. Like, that's a thing.
Turns out we can't have too many divines rolling around.
So yeah, there was the infamous screenshot where they actually tattled on themselves because their names were visible in a voice call. Whoops.
Along with everyone else that they were grouping with, too.
Yes.
But it was like a screenshot of, I don't know how many mirrors they had in it.
It was like almost 20 mirrors, bunch of squires, bunch of mage bloods.
And this was like week 1.
Yeah.
So this is such a fascinating conversation because what is the difference between a bug and between just like unintended mechanics?
Depends on if you report it. That's the actual answer. Depends on if you report it.
So if you report it, then it becomes an exploit?
I guess it depends on how much you used it before you reported it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because like this was a thing in WoW during the Ulduar raid, if I remember correctly, in that like people did in fact get banned for creative use of game mechanics.
Right.
Because it led to unintended results. Whereas I know prior to that, anything that wasn't explicitly a bug, they just kind of let that slide.
I always heard stories about people getting banned for kiting certain things to Vale's room. I don't know if those were true or not.
I mean, actually kiting things to Vale's room was just the way you did stuff. But also, that became a long time, like, running gag about every single raid ever.
We never kited the dragons to Vale's room.
You made things harder for yourself.
which was often the case.
Hey, bad luck is not making things harder for ourselves. That's the game making it harder for
Like
us.
I do know that the way that we ran what was that dungeon? Blackwing Lair?
Mm-hmm.
Was different than a lot of the other groups that I went with later.
Well, apparently other people were kiting those drakes to Vale's room.
Yeah.
We spent 4 weeks. Actually, no, we spent like 3 months on Firemaw.
Yeah, like I think the reason why WoW was so laissez-faire about exploits is because of who was designing a lot of the raid content.
Mm-hmm.
Because
in EverQuest, like whatever you could get away with, like
but he ate notorious bans. Like the one that I remember the most, and this might have been the last ban that he had, is when Lucklin opened. One of the big raid zones was Sanctus Seru, which was like a giant combine city that had like this emperor boss or something at the end of it, and it was supposed to be like Kael Drakel, where you fight your way through this giant city and then fight the boss. What he did instead is they would grav flux the entire raid up on top of the ceiling of this building, and then there was a hole in the roof where there was a skylight, so that they could have cool lighting effects beaming down on the boss chamber.
Mm-hmm.
So they grav fluxed the entire raid up to the ceiling, which is just a giant throw something in the air spell that wizards had, and then they would do slow fall and fall directly through the skylight into the boss's chamber.
There you go.
Thereby skipping the entire content other than the boss.
Yep. Creative use of game mechanics.
Yep.
That indirectly reminds me, although this was like literally clipping through the landscape, the first big like raid ban I remember is what was it? The one in
It was
Sandy
dropping to the
Bug
bottom,
Town.
AQ40, right?
Yeah, AQ40. That you could literally like, I think it was after the first boss, they would just clip through the ground and get straight to Cthulhu.
Yes.
That's the first one that I remember like just major guild-wide bans for.
It saved you a lot of time.
I'm sure it did.
But yeah, like it's very hard for me to tell like when is something that's like, hey, I'm using the game in a creative way to get good rewards, and hey, this is too good of rewards actually and should be considered an exploit.
Yeah, and I think in this scenario,
you think it's too good, maybe you should consider reporting it to the developers.
Yeah. And I think it was the attempt at secrecy around this too, other than the bragging.
It's the trying to keep it secret, and that's what really,
Because like if you were generating like 1,000 divines within the first day of a league, chances are that's an exploit.
Yeah. Well, I remember like classically in MUDs, the precursors to all this, generally the rule was if you find something like that, you report it and you get something awesome as a reward.
Yeah.
Or if you try to keep it hidden and they find out, you get banned.
Yeah, and that's probably fine. Like, yes, they definitely should try and inform people of this stuff so the community could go over it and find the problems.
Well, but that was a lot of the problem last league with Necropolis, was when all the weird scarab interactions happened, it became a exploited early, exploited often type league, and I think they're trying to stop that from happening again.
Yeah, I think that's why they just came down with the banhammer immediately on this one.
Because that was mostly creative use of mechanics, because like here's all these new scarabs. They've probably not tested all these interactions yet. Oopsie, we just generated 200 unique monsters, and every single unique monster dropped a unique. 200 is actually a low number. Like I remember Pox ran a map, and he had the map device that kept count of how many of everything you killed, And there was like 2,000-3,000 unique monsters that he had killed in the map.
Sheesh. I guess at that point, you can just get tier 0 uniques.
Right.
You're rolling dice so
like,
many times.
Yeah, like if you roll the dice enough times, you're going to get one. But it was all about
as intended.
It was all about like all of these things spawning on top of a ritual, which then caused them to spawn every time you did a ritual.
And prior to that, the league before, there was the affliction thing where affliction spawning mobs counted as projectiles. So you get ultra juiced Stygian Spires and Abyss Spires on maps that had extra projectiles.
Yeah, and that was a scenario where you were playing Abyss in a manner that was unnatural because you were basically trying your best never to touch the spires because they would just keep spitting out more packs of mobs.
Yeah, but this is an interesting situation where that didn't get banned, but that definitely feels like unintended use of game mechanics to get a ludicrous amount of gear.
They did hotfix it, but yeah, they did not ban for it.
But like,
I think after 2 leagues in a row of hotfixing and not banning, they decided this needs to stop.
Right. Yeah. I think this is the sobriety on top of those 2 leagues. Like, that's not to say that there's not been plenty of wild stuff that's happened this league, but yeah, I think they were trying to stop it from getting out of hand this time. And like, I honestly applaud that because nothing feels worse than finding out, oh, hey, there's this new mechanic where people are just printing all the currency in the world.
And you missed it.
And you missed it by like an hour.
Well, that was definitely the problem with Last Epoch, right? Like,
yep.
The entire economy is ruined. No one is like doing normal trades. And if you weren't there to get the early influx of gold, you might as well not be playing.
Yeah, or at least Trade League was the wrong choice at that point.
Yeah, I was a week late to league start.
And it's not just an ARPG thing. Like, it always felt bad in MMOs when there was some hot new farm that got hot fixed before you got off work.
I also like MMOs have a much harder problem because it's not like there's many league resets.
Yeah, those tend to get rolled back on an individual basis. The last thing I remember there being some sort of mass ban / rollback for was the squadron limit break thing in FF14.
I have no idea what this is.
I know this.
If you are doing a squadron mission, you have a unique limit break available to you. That, like, if I remember correctly, it does damage, buffs people in the party, stuff like that. You could use the text command to use this anywhere, regardless of whether you had, appropriate amounts of limit or were in a squadron.
Wow.
That's a thing. So, like, they said a bunch of people did this. People got like very short bans. Like I tested this in a housing area. That was like they gave you like a 2-day ban. I used this in a savage raid, permaban.
Wow.
It was real obvious this was not intended behavior. So if you did it, we're coming for you.
So, Ammo, you've been back playing Guild Wars 2. What are your thoughts so far?
Well, I haven't really had a chance to do any story yet because I tend to jump in and I kind of start undoing the world boss loop because it's fun and that's how I kind of relearn how to play.
Yep. That's how I get back into the game every single time I get back into the game.
Yeah.
Is just to follow the train for a bit.
I did do some world versus world so I could get a free cat because that is important.
And eventually got straightened out on the same server that the rest of us are on.
Yes, I did. So yeah, it's been pretty neat. I mostly played Guardian before, and I am still doing that. I'm trying a different spec. I'm trying Willbender a little bit now, but also for the World versus World, I am playing a Ranger, and that's pretty fun.
Ranger is real fun in World versus World, especially with Longbow, because you can kind of just hang out on the periphery and harass people.
Yep, it's exactly what I'm using.
Like like in a lot of the fights, your role is to get up on as high of a peak as you can and rain down barrage on top of the enemy party.
Yeah.
Longbow Rangers are blessed with extra range above everyone else's long range, right?
Yep.
Yep.
I can fight Tequaddle without ever getting in range of the knockdown.
Yeah, I also hadn't like boosted this character's level. She was still like 20 something, and since I've been doing the world versus world and some odds and ends, it's like I think I'm like 50 something. It's just like I'd forgotten how crazy the XP can be in there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I did some world versus world today. We're still in a like it seems like the guild is still attached to the whatever raid group that we were in during the last reset. So
I mean, I wouldn't expect it to need to change a lot unless something happened with some large guild, you know.
yeah, like so far it seems to be a pretty decent group to run around with. I ground out another gift of battle today. It went much faster with the XP bonus.
See, eventually you have so many extras that it doesn't feel bad to feed one to a cat.
Yes, I need to start working on cat hunting soon.
They're everywhere and they're great.
Yeah, and they all take like a very specific meal, some
Yeah.
of which are real expensive.
Wow,
Most
that
of
sounds just like my cats.
Most of them are pretty reasonable, but yeah, some of them are like one of them wants a cheeseburger, of course. Some of them want a specific meal and will only take it from a specific class.
Yes.
I feel like this is a mechanic I have not stumbled across.
The cat collecting is fun. It's very easy to miss. There are cats all throughout the world, and if you give the cat the food it wants, then it will move to your home instance. And from that point on, when you visit your home instance, that cat is there doing its thing.
And they have like hilarious things. Like one of the cats leaves a dead bird at the door to my instance.
Yes.
Now,
Amazing.
Do the cats go with you to your new version of a
Yes,
home instance?
yes, they're roaming around. They're roaming around my homestead. I have
Yeah,
a
they didn't
holographic
forget.
kitten that seems to like to hang out on the kitchen table.
Yeah, there's a kitten from Super Adventure Box that will hang out near your Bubble Bobbles if you have it.
Nice.
There's a Witch's Familiar Cat from the Halloween event, and if you have a candy corn node, it'll hang out near that.
I tried to do the
there's a set of
frozen
them.
cats,
There's the
but
frozen
like,
cats that'll all throw snowballs at each other.
but apparently the frozen in cubes cats that are around only actually work during the holiday event.
No. So the frozen cats, you have to get the soup that they want, and then you have to take it to the volcano and
Right,
superheat
and it wouldn't let me superheat it. I got the soups, but
You
it
should-
wouldn't let me superheat it.
Yeah, I never had to do anything special. Like
Okay.
it doesn't have to be a holiday.
Okay. Well, I'll go back at some other time. But like I have all the right soups, and they were kind of costly, but
Yeah, those soups aren't cheap.
so I
But,
guess at some point I
cats.
will go back and see if I can superheat them.
And there's the delightful Lady Wisteria Whiskington, who is quite certain that there is in fact a culinary use of bloodstone.
Oh God.
Oh man, I would love to use bloodstone for anything.
I mean,
That one you have to get some bloodstone food and then run the story instance that takes you into Caudicus's manor, and then find this cat hiding in a room and feed her.
Why are all the bloodstone areas miserable?
Because they're mostly jungle, I think. There's something about jungle in this game.
I mean, Lake Doric is miserable and it's not a jungle.
That's true. That's because White Mantle.
Yeah, okay, maybe it's
I
just
mean, that's
White
actually
Mantle
the answer
areas.
to why Bloodstone
are-
yes.
Actually, yeah, that's it. Because it's White Mantle areas, and the White Mantle is just
Because fighting the different White Mantle types is just
awful.
annoying. Like they have a very unique kit, and they're super annoying.
No, I remember when I used to think that all the different Mordremoth foes were awful. And
Right, and then I met the White
compared to
Mantle.
White Mantle, they're nothing.
I mean, they're not great. Especially the archers, although once you can see them while they're invisible, they become much less annoying.
That helps a lot, yes.
The other thing about Guild Wars is a game about filling bars. You will never run out of bars to fill in this game.
Yeah.
And there are always new masteries, new achievements, new everything.
And like, to some extent, that's in part what the topic that I actually put on the thing was. I feel like this Guild Wars has the same problem as Path of Exile. It is overly complicated. It's kind of obtuse. It doesn't always do the best job of leading you to the correct things to do. And one of these things is all of the different collection quests that give you things that you should be working on.
And boy, there are a lot of them.
They're buried in your achievements.
Yes.
Like, I love that they found a way to effectively implement quests in this game by doing them as achievements, because that was a thing that did not exist in the early days of Guild Wars 2, and then they started doing
Renown
it.
Hearts. Why would you do anything other than Renown Hearts?
Yeah.
Don't you love doing Renown Hearts, Thalen?
I do kind of love doing Renown Hearts
Those
now.
are fine too. Yeah,
I do not, especially repeatable Renowned Hearts. Please no.
they seem to have found a better way to handle that.
Right. It is so much better in Janthier because, like, the thing that annoys me about repeatable Renown Hearts in the rest of the world is if there's a thing you want to buy, you have to redo the heart that day.
Yeah, you can't buy anything from that vendor if you haven't done that heart that day. In Janthier, there's like a specific item on the vendor that you have to have done the heart that day to buy that item. But other than that, you can just use the vendor. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean it's like a sliding reputation kind of scale that things unlock as you do them.
Yeah, there's like multiple tiers to the renown.
I have to say,
It's fine.
Achievements feel like a bad solution to quests.
Yes.
I mean, you do what you can with the tools you have.
Okay, but you say that, but then it's like, okay, so at some point they realized that they had done screwed up. They implemented legendaries using this system, and didn't they implement legendaries very early on?
Legendaries were not tracked at all in any way prior to the addition of legendary collections.
Yeah, legendaries originally were just
could
like,
always do them.
You hope that the thing that the precursor drops, or you pay absurd amounts of money for it, and then you figure out,
you remember
using the
right
wiki,
recipe,
what objects you need to throw into the toilet with it to get the actual legendary.
Miani did always sell recipes, so like you could see those.
There was that, yeah. But yeah, there was a lack of guidance within game on a lot of this stuff. The wiki's still incredibly important, but it was
achievements are better than nothing. But I still feel like there should be maybe just a section of the achievements that are like major system unlocks.
It's not exactly major system unlocks, but there is the character adventure guide is intended to introduce you to all the important things in the game.
What do you mean by major systems?
I mean, like, legendary backpack, legendary necklace.
Legendaries are not important, Bell.
But
legendaries are not important.
All the different mount unlocks are important. They're not in the adventure guide
because they were part of an expansion at one point.
Yeah, they were part of Path of Fire.
But like, there are all these long grinds.
So they're all in Path of Fire.
That you should probably be spending some time chipping away at.
Sure.
I mean, that should be collected in some location.
Sure. I will grant you that,
this came up this week because I had started my Griffin at one point. Could not remember where the hell I left off.
The good news is there's an achievement for it.
So I basically had to go out to the wiki to find the names of the quests until I found the one that was the collections that I was working on.
Yeah,
so I could pick it up.
I do actually know that one. It's called Open Skies, but yeah.
Yeah, I know now because I've just done it.
Yeah, because Griffin, the Griffin is, I assume, under Path of Fire somewhere. I don't know. I did it forever ago.
Yep, it's under Path of Fire.
If you want legendary Aurene weapons, those are under End of Dragons. If you want mounts, those are under Path of Fire, except for the turtle. That's under End of Dragons.
I'm just saying that this is kind of nonsense to sort through if you don't know what you're doing.
they can be
So I
hard
will
to
say the
track
mount
down.
stuff should probably be a little easier to see for the mounts that are not basically just given to you. Because there are 3 mounts that are basically just given to you. Well, one of them is literally just given to you now. The Raptor is literally just given to you.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Do you just get a sky scale if you're doing
No.
Secrets of the Obscure. Like you do that. You do a little
There
bit
is
of
an
mastery.
alternate unlock.
Yes.
Okay.
But it's still a lot of faffing about to get your sky scale.
But less faffing about.
Yeah, but
than
much,
the original
much
sky
less.
scale.
I was about to say.
Now that said, if you do both sky scale unlocks, you have a better sky scale.
Oh.
Because you have the masteries from both chains.
Oh, right.
Yeah, but you only have to do the first unlock to get that. You don't have to complete the entire chain to get the second mastery.
If I want my fireball, right?
Fireball's actually not in the sky scale chain. It's in a different one.
Right.
It's in the Nios chain.
Yeah, because of course it is.
Again, y'all are just proving my point.
It's like I did exactly.
Fireball's in flight training.
What? No. That's right. Fireball is in flight training. Fireball doing siege damage is in Nios.
What?
Yes. I've unlocked exactly one inner Nios mastery, and that is sieging Fireball.
What? Okay.
But again, like I said, y'all are just proving my point.
Things are often scattered about.
Okay.
I mean, eventually you just have every mastery, and it doesn't matter anymore. Until then.
This game is still better at letting me know what I should be doing than Warframe.
Yes.
So that's the lowest of bars. But to more to the point, you don't need all of the things that we just talked about to be a functional character in Guild Wars 2. Whereas you need to know a lot of things to be a functional character in Path of Exile.
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
I mean, I would also disagree with that because the difference between I built it myself and I am playing an optimized guide is like a 50x difference between 2 characters.
Yeah, it's a 50x difference. That's not a million x.
Yeah.
50x is still big, probably too big. That's not the number you see in Path of Exile.
Yeah, I mean, the Path of Exile example is I can't complete the campaign.
Right.
Yes.
A basically functional character who can run around and do world events and do all sorts of stuff, complete pretty much all the campaigns.
Do all the story.
Let's not talk about Season 2. Does not take an optimized build.
And the best thing is, if you use the level 80 boost, you can literally throw together whatever build you want because your stats are all being supported.
Yes, because they actually give you good gear now.
Yeah, I mean, and that was fine until, Suwon and the most recent meta.
Suwon is but those are the hardest open world content there is.
Also, like all open world content, it does get easier as people learn how to do it.
Yeah.
Dragon's Stand used to be hard.
When's
the last time you
nerfed
failed the
quite a
Dragon's
bit.
Stand?
A couple weeks ago. It's still very failable.
Fair. But it's still not that common.
If I have 30 people in an instance, we're probably winning at Dragon's Stand.
Probably so.
Yeah, whereas I've had 80 in the new meta and failed it.
New things are harder.
New things are harder. We haven't figured out and disseminated all of the marching orders.
Yeah.
The player community as an entire community is going through the reps.
Right. I mean, it's kind of the problem of breaking a raid, because until the tanks and healers get the fight, no one gets the fight.
Yeah, but the good thing is there's really no tanks or healers in this game.
Yeah, well,
Incorrect.
In this case, it's commanders that are learning the fights.
That's reasonable.
Also,
My God.
I hate to let you know, this game absolutely has tanks and healers.
Yeah. Unfortunately, a lot of times it's the same character that is healing and tanking.
They are sometimes the same character, yes.
Yep. They
When we do
wanted
fractals,
to
it's
not
the same
have
character,
them,
it's me.
but they sure have them.
Okay, Commander Tag is a ludicrous magic trick.
It's a big beacon that says, let's go do something together as a group. And everyone's like, yes.
So I was doing Open Skies, right? And Open Skies requires you to do several champion and or legendary events.
Yep.
Or single
Champions,
fights.
I can't solo very many legendaries.
Right. So what I would do was get the event started, tag up, say in map chat, I am doing the event for Open Skies. And within seconds, like a party would materialize. Like I had 40 people on one of them. And it's just like, where were all of you just a few minutes ago?
Waiting for a freaking commander.
Give us orders, we'll go do it.
It's the funniest thing. And, like, it's true though. Cause like today I did World versus World, like, and ground out the gift of battle. And I would just do whatever the hell the commander told me to do. Just follow them around.
Look, they've got a commander tag. They must know what they're doing.
I don't know what I'm doing in World versus World. Like, I also don't have like any siege equipment or anything like that. So, like, that is not a good proposition. I don't have a lot of the masteries unlocked in there. Not masteries, but the talent points. That do the useful things.
Have you ever joined like the Commander Discord while doing World v World?
No.
I did that once when there was a very dedicated group at one point paired with us.
I do not think it would be good for my mental health.
Yes.
I have a feeling that World versus World Discord groups are probably kind of on the toxic spectrum.
I mean, it was mostly there so that we could have voice comms.
Everybody go, 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 go.
Yeah.
But sometimes really that's all you need.
It really is.
It was very important for me because I was playing a Scrapper, and Scrapper is kind of important in World v World. We are the tip of the spear, and we lay down so many defensive buffs.
Yeah, I was mostly running around today with a bear, so the bear would cleanse condition damage or conditions, and I would stay on the periphery and harass people.
I don't know. I'm actually like I am medium on World v World. I actually think I like their PvP better.
Yeah, I like World versus World much better than PvP. Like I enjoy the PvP system, mostly because it's nice and short and doesn't. I mean, you can get a couple matches in real quick, and there's no negative. PvP. There's no negative ramifications to it. Like, but I really do enjoy World versus World. Like not to the point of I'm going to become a World versus World main, but I do find it really enjoyable. And like when they designed the battlegrounds, they really did a good job of them. Like, because there's a lot of neat little secrets to get in and out of those places.
Do you have it on your Wizard Tower mix?
What? Oh no, I don't. No. Because that annoyed me, because then I was forced to do it. Like, I tried the blended one where it gives me some PvE, some PvP, some World versus World. And I do all of those things. I just want to do them when I'm in the mood for them.
Yeah, I'm currently on 100% PvE right now.
I am also on 100% PvE right now. And it feels better because like some of the things it was asking for in World versus World were a little egregious. Like I remember one week getting capture a keep. Okay. Like that is a thing that I can do sometimes, like but you have to have the right group.
Yeah.
It's not just you need a group, you need the right group.
Well, you need a group, and you need your group to be better than the opposing group.
You like
don't
today
have to have a big group. Maybe whoever owns the keep doesn't come and defend it. You might get lucky, but probably not.
Well, like today, I did enough of all the things to complete the weekly World versus World achievements. So I captured a keep, I captured a tower, I killed enough people to get Avenger, there was all these things that I did throughout the day, and it was over the course of, I don't know, like I started 9:30-ish and finished up about 2:30. but I was rolling in Eternal Battlegrounds with a full party the entire time. So like there's a lot of circumstances around doing something like that during a daily window.
Yeah.
It was just too much. Like, so
Well,
I was,
those are not needed for like the dailies are much easier. Those are the weekly types of events.
I'm pretty sure I had Capture a Keep for daily once, but this was before they got kind of reworked. Because when they first rolled out, they were a little bit more annoying than they are right now.
They were a bit much initially, yeah.
And so like that was that first, and then like all I did was I ignored it until it reset back to PvE only, and then I started doing them. But the way they are now is kind of delightful because it kind of gives me guidance in what I'm going to do. If I've not knocked out weeklies, I'll start chipping away on those, and the dailies are usually pretty easy to knock out. So another random thought that I had this week is, are Twitch drops actually useful?
What do you want to use them for?
Well, like, do they benefit the company? Because for the most part, everyone that I know fires up a stream, mutes it, puts it in a background tab, and moves on with their life until they farmed up X number of hours to get the drop.
I mean, the main thing I can think of is I guess it might incentivize people that go, streamers that do different games to stream that particular game. And so their existing audience is watching that particular game.
So I didn't understand what this question was either, but yes, 100%, because you know how you get more people to go to a stream to watch somebody play your game? You make those streams have high viewer counts, so it looks like it's going to be an active, fun stream to go watch.
But are they really converting people to be watchers?
I mean,
this is like the Twitch front page algorithm.
Yeah, I mean, even if you've got it muted off, hiding away behind something, you're still counted as a watcher.
You contributed to helping other people see that this stream exists.
Yeah, you made the number bigger.
I don't know. Like it just feels like a weird lie that everyone is telling themselves.
Well, I mean, that's the internet in a nutshell.
So like this is absolutely like if you go to Twitch and you're like, who should I watch? Twitch is going to promote like hot channels that are happening right now, and those hot channels are going to be the ones that have a lot of viewers.
I guess I've never used the Twitch recommendation system. I only ever look at the following tab.
Yeah, we're not normal Twitch viewers. You need to understand that, Bell.
Okay. Like I only ever watch people that I either know or somewhat vaguely am aware who they are.
But like the other thing is like people might there's this whole ecosystem of like, oh hey, maybe I'm gonna raid somebody, and it's like, oh man, this guy's got a lot of a big active community, like let's go raid into them and we'll keep chatting with ourselves there. Like it's all about getting more numbers to make more numbers go up. This is similar to like how Project for Awesome used to hack the YouTube algorithm to show all of their charity videos.
I noticed basically all of the mobile games have pulled out of Twitch Prime. So I thought that was interesting too. Because like it used to be you would go over to the Twitch Prime page and you would have all of these offers for gacha games. For the most part, they're gone.
I'm not going to get spammed with Raid Shadow Legends?
Apparently not anymore. Or at least not currently.
Our long national nightmare has ended.
But we would still like you to try some AG1. There's a whole list of products that, by association with always being in YouTube video ad placements, I will never try.
Yes.
Like, I don't care how good any of these things are. Just, I have been saturated too much with them that I never want to hear their names again.
Noom, it's not a diet plan. It's a mental health crisis.
Do you want to pick up some good habits with this weird little essential oil inhaler?
Hey, sponsors, reach out to Belghast.
No. They're already in my email box. No. I do not want to hawk your VPN service. Thanks and bye.
But how will the Brazilians get to their Twitter?
They won't. They're going to join Fediverse. Clearly.
They are on the blue skies now.
That's where I assumed.
They all went to Blue Sky, yeah.
That's what I assumed, because Blue Sky is way more Twitter-like.
And they're probably better off for it.
I know. Yeah, I know. It is. It's fully off now.
Yeah, I mean, like, the thing is, like, I think that's a good thing. There were people gnashing their teeth as to whether or not, the Fediverse could handle the onslaught of the Brazilians, but also, like, I played on a server that had tons of Brazilian players on it, and a lot of them were in our raids. So
no, I'm like, I had, as I said, I had to make sure I followed Rick Fernello, who is a super rad Celeste player from Brazil.
Yeah, they're super cool folks.
Yeah, apparently the third largest country on Twitter.
Jeez,
It doesn't surprise me. Like, they were a large percentage of World of Warcraft players.
I've seen numbers between like third and seventh largest, but
yeah,
like even seventh would be impressive.
Brazilian souls, we salute you.
Yes,
I had no clue that Rakuno was Brazilian until today.
Oh,
had no freaking clue, because I made my comment and it was like, yeah, our legislature did something dumb.
It was the judiciary, I thought.
I don't know. I don't remember what he said, but
I mean, it was a judge who ultimately like banned Twitter, but like I don't know everything that led up to that. So
the problem is the story that I understand is basically there are a whole bunch of problems here. One is that basically Brazil also had a January 6th moment, I believe, actually on January 6th. Also,
they had an attempted coup. Yes,
they had an attempted coup, and this is like they're trying to investigate like who knew what when type of stuff, and so that's where they're looking for information from Twitter, and so like. There is a very reasonable, like, hey, no, like this is we don't want to like allow suppression of free speech, but at the same time that gets really weak because this is exactly the type of information that Musk has handed over to a bunch of other authoritarian governments.
I'm shocked.
Yep.
So it's just he's upset because Brazil is not aligned with his politics while like Turkey and India are. Yeah. So he's handed over the user information to those countries, but not to this country, and then got into a big public fight over it.
He's real good at getting into public fights.
And is also still real mad at advertisers as more pull out of the platform.
They're just doing what he told them to do.
They are in fact effing off.
If you don't want to have your ads up next to like Nazi salutes, then that's clearly a sign that you're committing RICO.
Yes.
Anyway,
the internet, social media.
Man.
Anyhow.
Maybe it was all a mistake.
Yes. Anyhow.
Visions of Mana.
Visions of Mana is the 5th mainline game in the Mana series. Yes, we're only up to game 5 in the Mana series.
That seems like we should have more.
Hasn't this series been around since like for over 30 years at this point?
I mean, there were 3 on the Super Nintendo.
Yeah,
but like this is my.
There were 2 on the Super Nintendo.
I thought there were. Wait,
Secret of Evermore is not not a game in that series.
Okay, you're right. Right. It just seems like it should have been.
But yeah, Visions of Mana is a new Mana game. First one since what was it? Dawn of Mana on the PS2. I think Dawn of Mana was the PS1 game. I don't remember what the PS2 game is.
I mean, there's a lot of side games.
There are a lot of side games.
And Final Fantasy Adventure.
That is game 1.
Okay, so we are counting that in the 5. All right.
Then yeah, Secret of Mana, and then the game that would eventually go on to become Trials of Mana was the 3rd game. And then nothing until the PS2. There was a weird spin-off on the PS1, Not Visions of Mana. I'm not even remember what this game is called at all.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
Legend of Mana was the big PS1 game. That's a very weird game. It had an HD remake come out earlier this year, last year, something like that. Very weird game. I don't know if I could call it a good game, but it's certainly a unique game.
I remember playing through it on the PlayStation, but I also remember next to nothing about it.
It is very non-linear, so has some issues like carrying forward coherent plot. Dawn of Mana was the PS2 one. Anyhow, this game is very heavily based gameplay-wise on the Trials of Mana remake that came out in 2020. While the Secret of Mana and the Final Fantasy Adventure remakes that came out in 3D were just an attempt to put the original game into 3D and kept all of the original mechanics from the previous games, which are, I don't know if you played them at all recently, they're real clunky.
They were.
Trials of Mana was like, all right, we set out to make an action RPG. We don't need to implement the mechanics from the previous game. We can just make an action RPG with this story and these characters and these places. And they did that. And it was good.
Real good.
In fact, one of my favorite games of that year. I don't think I played it until 2021. I think it made my games of the year in 2021. This game is very clearly based on that. And they're trying to tell an interesting story with these mechanics. It is, of course, about the mana tree and the mana sword and various spirits. And
Sure.
But there is definitely an interesting story about sacrifice because of the game's the central premise of the game, which is every 4 years, two people, one per element, head off to the mana tree and sacrifice their lives to basically keep the flow of mana going in the world.
Mm.
And you start off as the soul guard for these people. Like, that's who the main character is. Several party members are the alms, they call themselves.
The ones being sacrificed?
Yes.
Vaguely reminiscent of Final Fantasy X.
Yeah, except they're telling you this from the get-go. FF10 doesn't tell you this. And it seems like subverting this whole process is going to be one of the things in the game, because characters have gone through a variety of things discussing, like, are there alternatives? Like, does this the way it has to be? And you are shown in the game's intro that if you don't do this, very bad things happen. Like, you're shown the outcome of someone refusing this duty in the very intro to the game. So it's raises some interesting questions. I think I'm probably about halfway through it, which means I don't think it's that long. I could be wrong, because Trials of Mana itself does give you a pretty quality fake out for the SNES area for how long it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't be that surprised if this game does too. But it feels like I have made a significant dent into the story. Definitely some events have occurred. Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with it.
That's cool. I was going to say, it seems like it's keeping pace with the Elder Scrolls series on releases. Because those probably started at the same time as well.
Elder Scrolls was 3 years late to the party.
Ah.
I wonder which series has had more spin-offs, though. I don't actually know the answer to that question.
But yeah, like, so it's not like pixel art, though, right?
No, it's 3D.
Was the fourth one pixel art?
No, the fourth one was a PS2 game. It was also 3D.
Okay.
The third one, which was just called Second Densetsu 3 for a very, very long time, until I think Square Enix officially named it in English in like 2018, 2019, something like that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I first played it as Second Densetsu 3.
So did I, on an emulator.
Yep, with translation patch. And I remember for the time, it was so far ahead of any of the other Super Nintendo games.
So it's in a collection with Secret of Mana, and oh wow, is it ahead of Secret of Mana?
Yep.
It doesn't have the multiplayer Secret of Mana had, but
I don't know that you're missing anything.
It felt a lot better than Secret of Mana for me.
It feels a lot better than Secret of Mana.
Because Secret of Mana, I think I played very briefly and was like, I feel like I should have hit with that sword attack. Every single sword attack.
No, you gotta wait till your meter's filled up in order to attack with your sword. Otherwise, it's gonna do basically nothing. Secret of Mana is clunky. Secret of Mana remake kept the clunk, and I wish it hadn't, since we've now seen how it could be. Honestly, we've seen that for Final Fantasy Adventure 2. It got a remake is not the right word for this. It got a reimagining on the Game Boy Advance called Sword of Mana. And that game's good. If you can get a chance to play that somehow, you should. I have no idea how one would play it nowadays. I'm fairly certain it hasn't been re-released for anything, but...
mateys.
Yeah, basically. But if you would like to see Final Fantasy Adventure and you would not want to play Final Fantasy Adventure, go find the Game Boy copy of Sword of Mana.
That's cool. I did play Final Fantasy Adventure back
I did
when it
too.
was a
A black and white Game Boy game.
and it was
It was
being
fun.
fun.
Like, I remember playing it in the back of many a car trip.
This was 1991. We didn't have anything better.
Yeah, exactly. We're playing that and Final Fantasy Legend.
I mean, I liked
If
Final
it had
Fantasy
Final Fantasy
Adventure.
in the name, I would buy it. Like
Right. Like, I liked
wasn't
Final
difficult.
Fantasy
There weren't that many.
Adventure far more than I liked Final Fantasy Legend.
Legend was clunky.
What even was Final Fantasy Legend? Was that the Saga 1?
Saga. That was what became Saga.
I mean,
It had the
again,
whole thing with like recruiting party members of like different type, like robots and monsters and things, and you change your monster into other monsters by feeding it parts of monsters.
yes.
And having to buy items to increase stats on your humans, and like
It was weird.
I think it was robots had abilities that you had to buy for them that basically worked like Pokemon abilities, except they didn't get restored on rest. They just eventually wore out. You had to buy new ones. It was a weird time. Like, it wasn't bad. It was very different from Final Fantasy. It was not what I initially expected buying a game that had Final Fantasy in the name.
Yeah. It very much felt like Robotech, where
Yeah.
you mash together a bunch of different things and all call it the same name.
Yeah. And it was also very, I'm trying to remember which of this was Legend and which was Legend 2. But I remember it also being very like just straight line. You are going up a tower. You need to get higher and higher up the tower until you conquered the tower.
Yeah, it was like you were climbing a world tree kind of thing.
And there wasn't a lot of backstory as to why you were doing it. You just were.
You just were.
The second one had this whole additional thing of your dad's Indiana Jones and you're like in his footsteps, like trying to find out what happened to him. And I don't mean like Indiana Jones. Your dad is literally Indiana Jones. Hat, whip, everything.
I was about to say, this is sounding at least a little bit like, what's the dungeon mapping game?
Etrian Odyssey?
Yes.
Not quite.
Well, I mean, in that there is a dungeon and I am digging down tower levels.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of that though. Like
because that was basically wizardry, and a whole lot of JRPGs like spun out of wizardry. Speaking of which, the creator of wizardry apparently passed away recently, pouring out for
I
Wordna.
saw that news. Rest in peace, Wordna.
I think that's probably a show. Any other real quick topics anybody has?
If you're gonna try and impress me by calling something a wizard in a game where I have constantly been using magic, you're gonna need to do a little bit more than that.
Gundam Breaker 4 did come out last week. We mentioned it briefly. Very promising looking.
Good. It would be nice to have a good Gundam Breaker that I can play without having to jump through all the hoops.
Well, hopefully you enjoyed the show, and we will see you again next week. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
See you.